Thank you, colleagues. Well, first of all, the International Telecommunication Union is pleased to open this discussion. At ITU, our mission remains unchanged. We want to connect the unconnected, we want to bridge the digital divide, and we want to leave no one offline. We want to make sure that information and communication technologies are universally accessible, equitable, meaningful, and they are also affordable. But not only for the 8 billion people, but also more specifically to the nearly 1 billion people with disabilities. As the UN specialized agencies for ICTs, ITU has anchored its working agenda under the framework of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And we work around 3 pillars. We, first of all, raise awareness about the challenges of persons with disabilities in accessing ICTs. We, in addition, streamline ICT standards, international standards, and we put the focus on accessibility. And third, we provide specialized education and training, focusing on the challenges and the solutions around the topic of digital accessibility. Maybe some of you know, but the ITU is divided in 3 sectors. We have the radio, standards, and the development sector. And already within the development sector of ITU, we have in 2018 made clear that inclusiveness should be one of our 5 core goals of our working agenda. ITU has a working agenda that we call ITU Connect 2030 that aims to bridge the digital divide by ensuring that accessibility is really implemented whenever we realize ICT ecosystems. And we did so even more last year in Kigali in Rwanda during the most important telecommunication development conference for our union. We reached consensus and we agreed that ICTs are vital tools to achieve social inclusions. And this is exactly what we do at the development sector. We provide capacity building, policy advice, raising awareness. We do that at the national level, at the regional level, and we do that also at the global level. Now we are here at 5G Territory in the Europe region, and this is exactly what we also do at the European level. Within the development sector of ITU, the ITU Office for Europe focuses also its work on accessibility, on digital accessibility. The Regional Office for Europe works around the regional agenda, of course, and among the different regional initiatives that we have Regional Initiative 3, which is digital inclusion and skills development. And specifically, we align our work with real-world conditions. And we did that by carrying out an ICT accessibility assessment across the Europe region. What we did is that we assessed the ICT accessibility laws, regulations, and directives and strategies in general terms that the European countries are putting in place. Our region, the IT Office for Europe, works directly with 46 member states of what we call the ITU Europe region. We work with the governments, but of course also with the partner organizations to make sure that at the European level, accessibility is taken into account when it comes to digital transformation. Trying to summarize, because we have only 10 minutes, trying to summarize the findings of this ICT accessibility assessment carried out across the region, the findings are mixed. It is, of course, indeed true that European countries, both from the European Union and also beyond, are committed to implementing ICT accessibility policies and strategies at the national level. However, the degree of implementation remains, to be improved. Maybe diving into more details of this ICT accessibility assessment, what we can say is that 44 out of 46 countries of our ITU region have already ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. This is a very good first step. On the other hand, however, as I mentioned before, the degree of implementation is varying. And the challenges that we see here is that in some countries there is work that is done in enacting, for instance, the EU Web Accessibility Directive. But on the other hand, in other countries, there are still challenges when it comes to implement accessibility in the web ICT public services. So we see that the Europe region, when it comes to comparison with other regions of the world, is of course doing positively well. But of course, there is also always room for improvement. I would like maybe now to focus on an opportunity where European member states can come together and actually discuss the specific topic of accessibility. And that is our flagship event at IT Office for Europe. We deliver every year, and this is its fifth year, that we are going to deliver Accessible Europe. This is our unique gathering point where we try to bring together all various stakeholders in the Europe region, from civil society to academia, to member states, governments, industry leaders that are specifically working in digital accessibility and inclusion. This year, and we kindly invite you to join and to register, is going to take place in Madrid, in Spain, on the 13th and 14th of December. It is, of course, jointly co-organized by ITU and the European Commission, and it is also supported by the government of Spain, especially during the presidency, the Spanish Presidency Council of the EU Council. So we warmly invite you to join us in December. During this conference, we will take the opportunity to really dive into the challenges and the problems that are there when it comes to digital accessibility, from the early stages of design and implementation to the process of decision-making and the involvement of the various stakeholders, finally even to the implementation of financial schemes that are necessary to actually implement accessibility changes within the systems. So again, we welcome you to join there, and we look forward to having you there. I take this opportunity, going towards my conclusion, to take a moment to reflect on the fact that 5G Territory and Accessibility Europe are exactly those collective moments where we can come together and really try to push the agenda forward. And we can only do that if we really have all stakeholders involved, from governments to the private sector and to the civil society. So this is a very good opportunity, and we thank 5G Territory for having us here today and also having us discuss the important subject of accessibility. I conclude, colleagues, by saying that in the Europe region, again, once more, a lot has been done, so this is very good for us, but there is still work that should be carried out. And more specifically, it is important that we always keep in mind the transformative role that ICTs have in our lives, which is something that now we take for granted. ICTs should always remain a means. They should serve a purpose. Our kids are learning and growing with the use of ICTs. Our professional career cannot be considered without the ICTs. Elderly people avoid social isolation thanks to the use of ICTs, remaining in contact with friends and families. But it is important that we maintain a distance when it comes to the use of ICTs. They should always serve a purpose and should always remain a means. They should be a benefit for us. They should be a benefit for the 8 billion people, but they should be even more important, so truly meaningful for those nearly 1 billion people that have disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sulmina? Yes, sure. There are some questions straight away we could talk about, and we will. That's why we'd like to ask our panelists, experts in accessibility, policy and technology, to see what is most important topics and issues right now and how we can solve them using the means we're talking here today. So please welcome independent consultant, researcher, accessibility EU and national expert, representing also NGO Apērons, Daina Podziņa. Daina. Oh yes, we need your support with a round of applause. It's a hard place to be on the stage. Paldies, thank you. Then a research fellow at Nordregio Research Institute, Sigrid Jessen. Thank you. And as you can see, we have 3 chairs. There's a moderator, board member at Riga Tech Girls, Liina Marta Sarma. Liina Marta. And good luck. By the way, please ask questions on the platform. You can go to the platform, even if you're here, please use your mobile phones, go to the platform and ask questions. You can stay anonymous, if you will, or sign your question. And if there will be time after the discussion, we will also ask those questions to the panel. Good luck. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'll share a bit about myself and what is this organization, Riga Tech Girls, that I'm representing before we move into the discussion. So at Riga Tech Girls, for the last already 7-8 years, since 2015, we've focused on education and providing opportunities for everyone to become a part of the ICT sector. So trying to support and create different kinds of education programs, networking events that would encourage those people, in our occasion specifically women, to be a part of it and to think about and consider pursuing careers in IT. And throughout these last years, we've created various large-scale programs, and including some of these that you might have heard of, which is Discover Tech, mentorship programs, Work in Tech, and so on. Each of these aims to, as I mentioned before, include more women and support more women into pursuing careers in IT, and also getting to know the world of IT and considering it as also a world that they belong in, which has a problem that we've noticed in our region quite a lot, that most women do not think of technology and science as a field that they should pursue. And the reason is nothing related to their skills. It's purely as they have never either known anyone or they have never been kind of suggested or supported in pursuing any fields in technology or science, or they've never been encouraged into this field. So once they go into these programs, start getting to know this field, they very often do pursue careers in them. Throughout these years, we've on focusing on women, and we can call it gender exclusion in the world of IT. We've come to the conclusion that we also should focus on not only specific genders that are being excluded in technology, but also other types of exclusion, and this time talking about disabilities. Our experience so far has been that throughout the last year, we've aimed to focus more on digital accessibility and aimed to focus on our programs and provide opportunity for those who are visually or have visually impaired or have speech impairments to have an opportunity to go through also our programs and the programs that provide such people an opportunity to get to know the field of technology, the world of ICT, and consider careers in them. So today we're here to talk more about this. Our experience has been very little in this field and only has happened due to the support that we've had as Riga Tech Girls organization from the Ministry of Welfare, that they have supported us in pursuing this opportunity to provide our programs to people who have such impairments, but it's a tough challenge overall, and without any such support, without any knowledge that there are people like this out there that have this opportunity, we wouldn't be able to move forward, we wouldn't be able to provide such programs and skills for them. So today we're here to talk about digital accessibility and also digital inclusion, considering that both of them are very closely intertwined, and very often we do connect ourselves and understand what is digital inclusion, and us as an organization as well, we work quite a lot with digital inclusion, but we're, as a society, we know that it's the best for us to move towards considering everyone who is excluded. So I'll start with the first question that I'll ask to, I think, mostly to Sigrid, but Dinah, you can definitely jump in. So what really is digital accessibility, and how does it relate to digital inclusion?
Thank you very much. I would like to start to say just thank you very much for inviting me. I've been looking very much forward coming here today and participating in a very important discussion. My name is Sil Jessen. I am a research fellow at the Norwegia Research Institute in Stockholm, and I'm the project manager of Digital Inclusion in Action, which is a research project where we are focusing on digital inclusion in the context of the Nordic and Baltic countries, and what is being done in order to combat this digital exclusion that we are seeing. To answer your question, in our project, we are focusing on digital inclusion, which I also agree with you, it's very linked with digital accessibility. I would define it personally as being two aspects that's going hand in hand, where digital accessibility is a mean to achieve digital inclusion. In general, we see that digital accessibility is often more focused on the aspects of ensuring that web content and tools overall and society in general is accessible for its users, and focusing a lot of people with disabilities. However, while digital inclusion is also incorporating digital accessibility, it's moving beyond this. So it's also focusing on the skills, and we're focusing on the capability aspect of digital accessibility and use of digital tools. And also in terms of user groups, it's moving on beyond only looking at the very important and crucial group of people with disabilities, but also looking at different people with different socioeconomic backgrounds, people of different ages, people of different genders, and etc. And the list go on.
Thank you, Sigrid. And then the follow-up question to Dinah, knowing her experience, can you elaborate on who are the people, who are those groups of people who are being excluded in this scenario, and more relation into digital accessibility?
Okay, thank you for this possibility to participate in this forum. And once again, I should say that those people who are mostly excluded from using different kinds of digital products are those who face some kind of physical, sign, hearing, cognitive impairments. And quite often we forget also one additional group, it's seniors. People who don't know from the very beginning, from the school ages, what are digital products, what are websites, what are internet and such things. So those people are mostly excluded. And they need quite often support from not only those who produce these products, but also from surrounding society, for those persons who let's say, state and governmental institutions who use these new solutions in their work.
You also mentioned before to me that there's, we often think about disabilities in the sense of physical disabilities, but there's also a completely different group as well.
Yeah, it's probably one of the big mistakes, how society recognized persons with disabilities. It's very simple, it's wheelchair users. Yes, and what kind of solutions we can propose to them? Not at all many. So the wheelchairs, and it's like a technical aid which supports those persons to be involved in society. But those who have other physical impairments like weak hands or without any mobility of hands, for example, or those who have who are blind or with very heavy sign problems, and they don't see the screens where is written, please touch the right place and you will be ordered to receive some kind of services. Persons with, who are deaf or with hearing impairments, and also those who have cognitive impairments. It means that those persons who need information in a very simple way, with very straight directions, what kind of button they must push just to be ordered to the right place. So it's very important now to understand those very large group of persons who need additional information called digital accessibility.
Can I add something to
Yeah,
this?
definitely.
Something that we also, I'm completely agreeing with you, Diana, but something that we also adding in the project is, I was trying to argue at least, is that there's also a necessity to view this, as you also say, that digital inclusion and digital accessibility is not necessarily only targeting very specific groups in society, but it is multidimensional and it's something that's also context specific. So meaning that that you're not necessarily at risk just because that you are an older adult, but you might be more at risk of digital exclusion if you are a rural, less affluent older adult living compared to those older adults living in metropolitan regions and have higher educational backgrounds. And the context of being that is context specific is also necessary to incorporate that it's very specific cases where people are actually getting at risk of digital exclusion. So it is a completely difficult, it's a very complex field to maneuver in.
Yeah, it also means that we can kind of sometimes make some assumptions from the research. I think I've known your research has done as well, is that based on the background, based on the context, you sometimes can make also assumptions and preventative measures in the future for certain groups. The following question, I would invite both of you maybe to share which one wants to go first. So why does it really matter? Why does digital accessibility matter? And why should maybe the people who are here, if in any case they're running a company, which is an ICT company, or they're a part of any ministry, why should they care about digital accessibility? How does it matter to them apart from doing a good job?
I think it matters to very different issues. First of all, it's a question of rights, of human rights. Yes, to use all kind of digital products as everyone else. The second, it's also a business question, because if you enlarge the possible end users of your produced product, you can make your business better. It's also the social dimension, because then persons who use those digital solutions or products feel themselves more strong and more involved in society. So I can name a lot of such issues which are very important for not only for them who produced and who plan to produce, who develop those digital solutions, but also from whole society together.
I completely agree. But I can maybe just add to say that I think as a society, if we care about social inclusion, we should also care about digital inclusion. And this is, among other things, I would argue, especially important in highly digitalized countries as the Nordic countries and the Baltic countries, where sometimes there might be a tendency to forget that this is very important because we are as digitalized societies as we are. I would say that it's very important, especially in the highly digitalized societies, because that when we are as we are getting more and more digitalized, it requires more of a digitalized presence in order to
Yeah.
participate, meaning also that the potential digital exclusion will be even more painful for those being digitally excluded compared to other countries. So I would say it's crucial.
Exactly, of course. As we now have most of the tools, most of the daily necessary tools that we have regarding digital banking or logging into our systems, everything is digitalized. So I completely agree with that, that it's increasingly more important that we make sure that everyone gets access to it and everyone has a solution to get access to it, so that we don't create a bigger and bigger gap without not noticing some things in the start. And it's, I think, a very kind of a slippery slope to get to a very big gap in between these people and the groups of people that we can get in there. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that that as I think Elind also said, that ICT can help solve various problems, and that is something that we've thought as well, that we focused on women, focused on women providing their programs, providing kind of support for them to get into IT programs, get into just generally into IT and in the job market of IT. One of the reasons was that we noticed that they're interested and they just haven't had the opportunity, but also that we noticed that we're fairly small, dense countries, and we're missing a workforce and that workforce that is missing, there's various groups of people who would like to be in this, for example, IT workforce, but they don't have that opportunity. So they're doing low-skilled jobs whilst they would like to improve their lives upon. And I think this is one of those scenarios where it's not only about gender, but it's also about digital accessibility, that those technologies can significantly improve a person's life, but also not only improve a daily life, but provide a high-quality life and a career. And we're missing those people because we're only focusing on teaching and suggesting to pursue science and technology for a specific amount of people, specific groups. We're not providing those who are missing there, and then going out and saying, but we're missing the IT people. But there's quite a lot who would potentially want to be in there. And I think that's also an argument that would should be considered more and more often, that we're missing on a significant amount of people who would potentially be a very high-skilled and good quality workforce, that they would also love doing it. And obviously that is saying that it's not for everyone. We're not pushing everyone to pursue careers in this field, but that's something that we consider, and that's something that we stumble upon once in a while when we talk to people in our programs as well. But that's just, a comment from my side. Continuing on to this, so could you maybe share on, I think this is also slightly more of a question to Dinah, knowing her experience in the field and knowing that she knows the pain points. So what's the current situation around digital accessibility, and what would you say would be the key struggles or the pain points that you notice on a daily life with groups of people that could be solved potentially in an easier way?
I should say that it's a very difficult question, because how to say, so not making a very critical point. I should say that accessibility, maybe in Latvia, is not on the very high rate. It means that a lot of people who have disabilities, they are excluded to use digital products, digital solutions, and so on. And you mentioned also these problems of lack of knowledge how to use it. Also, those hardwares which are needed for persons to use. A lot of problems in Latvia, not looking as in our digital transformation guidelines from 2021 to 2027. There are a lot of actions mentioned in a strategical planning document, but in reality, those measures or activities which are planned, they don't see and they don't look to the end users' needs. It's very sad to say. but quite often persons with disabilities who try to use some new, let's say, internet banks pages, for example, or trying to use digital documents produced by state and institution, local government institutions. If they find and face some difficulties, they stop to use it at all. And the first things what they are trying to do is going somewhere and ask for support. And then it's a question where they can get this support. Of course, we have in Latvia this one-stop shops where persons can access to services provided from state and municipal institutions. But then we must look to the infrastructure, how these persons can get to these one-stop shops. Additional thing is also, which comes in hand to hand with digital accessibility, is environmental accessibility. If these client service centers are situated on the second floor without a lift, then person also, as we recognized as wheelchair user, he will not attend this service centers. So problems are many and pain points are a lot of. And one of about which I would like to talk more is that, of course, we are speaking about end-user involvement. Yes, to know their needs and start to produce products thinking about that. But quite often we are not doing that thing. We produce some kind of product and then start to test and find out that there are some problems for persons with sign or hearing impairments or persons with cognitive impairments. And they take a lot of financial and time resources just now to solve again and make these products more accessible. So the first step which should be done before we plan or before we start to develop something new, we must look to the end users' needs and looking from the digital accessibility point of view, include in everyone also persons with different kind of impairments.
Okay, yeah, of course. I think it's definitely true that the end user should be the first one that you talk to, but I think that I wanted to add is that we hear these strategies and these kind of strategies and policies that are brought forward, but one thing is the strategy and policy that is definitely necessary because that's what we're fighting for, but the next step was which is a bigger challenge, doesn't apply to this, is the implementation, as you're saying. That one thing is suggesting this, but implementing it, even if we're asking every organization and every program trying to implement this, it creates various problems. So it's not enough to do a strategy and a policy around this. It's, there needs to be some action on implementation or some kind of I would suggest first steps on how, let's say, this kind of program does have let's start with a translation or a sign language interpreter, or let's start with some steps that should be implemented and moving it forward from there. And that's a thing I think that I've noticed, that even if the suggestions and the strategy is there, no one's required to really implement it unless you're kind of up for it and willing to see a benefit for the audience and so on. So I think that is also a key problem in there. But definitely, and talking to end users would be a first one. I would definitely suggest.
Can I just quickly add this? Sure. Also, just because right now in our project Digital Inclusion in Action, we're also finalizing a policy report where I also agree that there's many issues, but just to add a bit of positivity, we can see in just the last 2 years that close to 20 new policy documents and strategies have been developed just focusing on digital inclusion in the region across the Nordic and Baltic countries. And also that we are seeing these signs of some countries are doing it very well, and some countries are beginning to do it more. But this systematic engagement of civic society actors and NGOs is beginning to be something. And I know that some countries have been doing it for the last 8 years or something like that. But it's beginning to be something that is actually incorporated more systematically. And there's still a long way to go because it is a very complex and difficult question. But some small steps are taking in that direction, at least from our point of view.
Yeah, it's good to hear. It's good to hear. Small steps are definitely started. Following up actually on this and the policies, so I wanted to ask what, in your opinions, are the key stakeholders who are responsible about implementing such things? Is it that nothing is going to happen without the government policies and the local authorities initiating it? Or considering that more and more so non-governmental organizations and various also disability organizations play a very important role in improving technology opportunities in general, are they responsible for it? Or is it the IT companies who are actually creating these products that are not accessible? Is it their responsibility overall? So who's responsible? But I think it's a very open and broad question, I know.
I will start. I should say that everyone, IT companies, state and municipal institutions, every citizen, because it's a very general question, who is responsible for accessibility. If I look a little bit back, I should say that digital field is one of those where accessibility issues were raised from the very beginning. And again, I will be maybe very negative. Although there are a lot of standards how to implement this accessibility, nothing has happened, or happened maybe not at that level what it should be. Yeah. And then we face these problems that, like also in legislation and the policy planning documents, that there is very clever said what we should do and what actions will be done, and so on. But when we come to implementation into reality, then we find out that there is a very large gap between our future vision and reality which comes afterwards. And this reality, I must say, it's not very satisfied. The reality is that we lag behind a lot of people, and they are dropped out of this society which we call the informative society, new generation society. Yeah. And I should say that it's very important that digital field is developing and new innovations are coming into our daily lives every day. But this accessibility plays back for 2, 3, maybe more steps. And one of the issues which should be raised up, how to support the accessibility features to be included in the very first steps of producing new digital products, solutions, and if they will come together.
Okay. Final question, actually, to both of you, and I would suggest try to keep it short. So what can we expect in the future, and maybe what should we work on more regarding digital accessibility in the future? What should we pay attention to?
I would say, there's different aspects, but one of the main aspects is that we can see right now that there's huge differences in how we monitor and measure both digital accessibility, but also digital inclusion, which is also making it both difficult to make a harmonized approach, but it's also something that's making weaker policies overall. But we can also see that's beginning to be some more acknowledgement that this is something we need to pay more attention to in the Nordic and Baltic regions. And then secondly, I would say that we can also, as I said before, see that the engagement of civil society actors is beginning to be more systematic, and I hope that also will allow for more focus on the end user, and overall better policies that are better informed, but also better implemented in real life.
Exactly. Thanks.
I will be very short. There are a lot of instruments just now available how to monitor and how to make digital products more accessible. Just start to use them in all fields, in business field, in public field, also for end users. Just start to use those which are accessible just now.
Thank you. I also wanted to add that I would hope that in the future there's more IT companies like the same as ITU. It's a great example that see the benefit of and focus more on digital accessibility for everyone and see kind of like an overall benefit for it and working on it in the future. I know that we're running out of time, and Valdis is angrily standing there. Yes, just pretending. But
I just wanted to see the poll results.
Yes, I would also love to see the poll results.
By the way, yes, very briefly, your answers. If there was 3 options, which actions do you believe will be most effective to enhance digital accessibility and promote equal access for all? So it was implementing clear accessibility guidelines and standards. Someone should say that. Then conducting regular accessibility audits. Everyone should test it. Or there should be raising awareness about digital accessibility among all stakeholders. So someone would press it because we need it. Which one would you pick, please? But then I will tell the answers from the audience.
I can do the first one. I would do the testing. As I was mentioning, I think there's quite a lot of strategy, but the lack of implementation and auditing such implementation is the key.
I agree. I also acknowledge that the creation awareness is crucial throughout the countries, but I would also say that monitoring and measuring is crucial.
All right.
I will point all 3.
So, very agreeable panel. So, yes, I would say first and third was more popular, more or less the same, but conducting regular accessibility audits were not too popular. So that's the results. So, please, don't judge people, let's encourage people, and let's get together, because there are so many stakeholders. Also, not only seniors, as Dan said, but also those who are not maybe so well with technologies. We also need some help. Even I can feel sometimes that I'm somehow lacking behind. So thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.